Hello, everyone. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Today, I'm extremely excited. I'm excited every time. So if you watched any previous SaugaTalks, you'll know that I invite incredible entrepreneurs, analysts, data scientists, all these smart people that I know and who know me. And they talk about trends, they talk about business, they talk about future, they talk about after coronavirus world. So that's why today it's even more exciting for me to have here with me Neil Cattermull, who is the director and founder of Future as a Service company. But not just that, Neil has extremely impressive bio. The moment I met with Neil, this is incredible. I'm really excited to have Neil here with me because he is an author and public speaker, and he is independent analyst, and he is an influencer. He is a major influencer. So Neil, welcome.
Oh, thank you for putting me up on that pedestal, Irene.
Absolutely, because SaugaTalks, this is what I do here. I put my incredibly interesting speakers into that pedestal. And that what resonates with a rather smaller audience for now, but I'm really dedicated. I want more people to hear and to meet the incredible guests I have here. So Neil, welcome again.
No, thank you. I had a flashback then for a minute to my marriage because my ex-wife was Russian. And I thought, I thought I was stuck in a time warp there for a second, but I've got over it, my cold sweat now.
I see. Okay, yes, this is Russian accent that you're gonna hear for the next 30 plus minutes, okay? So that's not gonna disappear, I can assure you that. But
and I'm not stereotyping you at all. Far from
absolutely. But our conversation, I expect it to be extremely fluent because things may take us to different directions. That's fine. But the goal here that we're gonna touch on tech and we'll talk about future of business because I so need to hear this from you because again, everyone's reading, everyone's talking, and everyone is thinking about future after the pandemic. So let's start with the trends in tech and business. Where do you think we are now, Neil? What do you think going on in people's minds and businesses and all around us?
You know, it's funny because I was on a webinar the other day talking about this, and a few people disagreed with me. But you know, the thing with business is that you don't look at the immediate and the one step ahead. You've got to think of the longer term and the environment variables that sort of shape that, you know. And at the moment, with this pandemic around, as we all start to try and get out of the house and go back to business, you know, budgets are going to be shelved. There's going to be some tough decisions of how do we pull our business together now, in the face of little revenue. Can't produce as many goods because my staff, I've furloughed most of my staff. It's a really difficult thing to predict, but I will say I think a lot of it, one of two ways I think is emerging technology will be shelved, and it will be just keep the operations running to a degree with some plasters around the edges to make it look hip and trendy, or you might have some pioneers that go, I'm going to adopt this technology now while I can, and then and try and be a leader right in the forefront of tech businesses. But it's a tough one to call, but I think the economy is damaged so much in each respective country. I think it will take. It's not this U curve that everyone's expecting in business. And then anyone who runs a business would accept the fact that it's not going to be a U curve. It's going to be a struggle, and everyone's going to try and make money where they can to make it sustainable rather than to grow. And that's, I think, you'll look at many companies like that over the next 12 to 18 months.
Oh, so I read something about V-recover. Forget about you, So some optimists, picturing it as V. I like that kind of look at the future.
Yeah,
but no matter what. So yes, emerging technologies you mentioned, and this is like very valid point, because early adopters, they are still up for grab, right? They still
Yeah.
want to move things forward. I understand like every minor crisis leads to operational reprioritization first, kind of, right? How do I serve
Yeah.
my customers in this
I
climate?
think it comes down to microeconomies and economies of scale, where from an SME point of view, under 50 mil market cap turnover or some, you're looking at just keeping the operations running. I mean, the larger you get, it should get easier, but it actually becomes more difficult because you've got more divisions and more divisions and more divisions and more disparate sides of your business. When you're a smaller company, you can be far more agile and far more able to go with the times. And it's funny, I think the mid to large cap companies are going to suffer, right? And I saw this, I think Apple producing their new SE Apple iPhone that's on a budget, for like £400 or something like that. Yet another iPhone. If everyone hasn't bought and invested enough money in iPhones, £1,000 each plus. It's that kind of economy will suffer because they'll be looked to the typical potential luxury, and everyone will make do with what they have until a point where they can afford it. And I think that sort of market and economy will start to flatline. But saying that, there are other opportunities, some massive opportunities, with startup and fresh field companies that could just go and just start up with zero seed investment and just come up with a great idea. And everyone has got some what they call deals going on with the tech vendors now with, Oracle boasting that you could have infrastructure for free, IBM too, Google too, Amazon to a degree. Now is a time for some really good entrepreneurship. You can pull it together, you could be very, very successful. But, it's tough times, right? No one's gone out for a couple of months at the moment, and everyone's just talking to people via video cameras. And once we get more social, like we are, and we're supposed to be, and sociable and meet people, that will spur more ideas. But I think the economy for many, I would say for at least 12 to 18 months, is not going to recover properly. We're a long way away from that yet. And this V, and my dog's just made an appearance. Sorry about that.
Hey, hello dog. Hello, what's dog's name? Hello dog.
That's George. Say hello, George.
George, you're welcome to chime in. Absolutely. How do you think
George,
the future is gonna go for all of us? Yeah.
He's going on the sofa. It's his favorite spot.
Oh, so George's immediate future looks quite comfortable. George.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, hello, George.
He's waiting for his dinner. Typically British. I have a greyhound, as a pet, but that's another story.
Beautiful pet. Yep. I hope we make a better world for our pets and maybe our kids. What do you think? Do they?
Yeah. Well, homeschooling, what a nightmare. Then I feel for parents. I'm a single parent myself, and I have to homeschool my 9-year-old and work. And I've been working from home for years, off and on when I'm not traveling. And it's hard. You're juggling, a webcast like this, with your son in the background shouting, which going crazy, and the dog moaning because he's not been fed. And it's funny, this pandemic has proven that we can work from home, but badly. We can't, we can't work from home in a regimented fashion when certainly you've got a house full of kids. I've seen lots of people do their meetings in cars as I've walked the dog, and people are having conference calls in their cars, which is quite amusing. And even the video calls in their cars and not driving anywhere. And, and it's like, I've been on these webinars where people are going like that. Oh, what book have you got in there? Oh, what's that? And then being really nosy into, your house.
So
So
what
it's
are your
like,
tips? Yes, Neil, what are your tips about entertaining yourself and your children at home? I mean, any findings lately?
yeah,
What?
Fortnite.
Mhm, good, good, good. Whatever works, absolutely. I
Yeah, it works for him.
Yeah, yeah, Neil. I raised two, I don't know, pretty rounded boys, okay, while working from home. And I had help, of
Oh,
course, but point is that it's possible. It's all possible. And
yeah,
all of the parents out there, new parents, kind of mid-range parents, and everyone with grown-up kids like mine, okay, it's all possible. And kids, guess what? They adapt. I think, they're as smart as dogs, maybe some days, depends.
yeah, very devious kids, and
Absolutely. And
they
they
know
don't,
exactly what to say to get what they want. And
if they
yeah,
want their dinner, for instance, right? Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
But you know what I found? They know, even like 2 years old, 3 years old, they know, okay, if mom is working right now, it's fine. I'll talk to mom in 30 minutes. It's okay. And
yeah,
I found this experience very gratifying. And I think they turned out all right. I think so. I
yeah,
hope they think the same. So all I'm saying, yeah, these are definitely trying times, especially for me. It was the choice I made. Okay, many parents were not given this choice, right? They were
yeah.
kind of thrown in. So that's different. I understand and I feel, but from the veteran here, there is life and there is a way to live through this after.
I can't wait for him to go back to school. To be honest, it's
I
you
understand.
know
Absolutely.
one of my positions many years ago was a trainer in
Hmm.
technology, a certified trainer, and it's great. Gave me a great grounding for homeschooling to a degree, but when you train people, you have to understand people learn in different ways, whether it's from an audible way, visual way, or a mixture, or through application. Um, and you should one golden rule that it took me forever to understand, which is never grade anybody against your own abilities. And it's a very difficult thing to do because well, I know this, why don't you know that? You should be doing, why can't you get this? It's easy. But not everybody has that kind of understanding, and people learn at different paces. And homeschooling a 9-year-old is probably as challenging as it gets. Trying to teach him decimalization and fractions, and it's like, oh, and I've not using fractions for years, so I have to get out the Google search engine and see what Google has to say about it before I actually educate him. So a lot of the things in our educational systems we never use again after we leave school, and I just see it's so pointless. Some of what our children are told in school, where their curriculum massively needs to change.
Totally, totally. What we learn here again, I grew up in Russia and my kids grew up in America, okay? And two educational systems are completely different, okay?
Yeah,
Studying the same ratios, but it's completely different way of introducing children to material. So
yeah,
what I hear, when children really more involved than what we used to kind of experience, I guess
yeah.
there are
Were
better
you
results.
beaten at school?
Hmm?
You used to get beaten at school? You didn't do
Exactly.
things
Yeah,
right.
that's the way we did it. Yeah,
More
because
capital punishment. Right? It's like,
that's the best
over here
way
you
to
get
learn.
sued for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, totally. We've learned our lessons. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So Neil, to bring you point back to entrepreneurship, because you mentioned, right? You mentioned some big players. You mentioned
Yeah.
Amazon and Oracle, and of course Microsoft, IBM, right? So they're providing the infrastructure, all right? And speaking with tech entrepreneurs here, I hear more and more that they are looking for opportunities, the adventurous one, right? To build platforms on top of that infrastructure that big guys made available for them,
Yeah.
right? So where do you see growth there? Because we cannot stop inventing, we cannot stop creating, and kudos to all the entrepreneurs out there who is doing it
It's
now.
funny because it's like it's like economics 101 in business. So you start off with a great idea, and then if we put it in tech terms, you've got a service provider that delivers tech services, and they charge for that, whether it's implementing technology or supporting technology or providing what I call the sticky services around the edges, you know, whether it's delivery, whether it's maintenance agreements with software licensing, whatever it may be. You know, but we've evolved. So service providers are typically the tech interface, normally for large corporations. Then we move up the stack where we've got independent software vendors, right? So where they have, okay, I've got a really great idea. I've created an application. Where am I going to put it? And how am I going to deliver it? So you create a platform. So whether it's, for example, Microsoft CRM, Office 365, and Azure Stack, that kind of stuff. Then you've got your platform with your deliverable application, whatever it is. Ultimately, you want to be a SaaS provider, right? So everyone wants to work up their chain, the value chain, because that's the most profitable and it's the easiest to pull off, with the, you know, with the less outlay from the start. So, but it takes ages to get that way. And you know, some of the big clients, the clients out there now that are taking services from these tech titans are, you know, it's knee jerk, you know, it's a knee jerk response. It's a Me Too herd mentality of, because it's a great idea, I should be doing it too. But actually, every business is so individual and their needs are individual. They don't stop and think and realize that what's good for someone else is not necessarily good for them, unless it's some kind of something native like security, for example, or a base platform or an inherited infrastructure. Say, yeah, we're going to go to containerization now because it makes sense, rather than we don't really need our virtualization in state anymore, and we're going to do this. And I get that, but there's a lot of people just knee jerking, and the public providers are going to lap it all up. But, and there's a big but, you know, it got to a point, people did not cater for a pandemic outbreak like this at all, from a technical provisioning point of view. Everyone boasted they could. Everyone said, oh, we need to do that. But they couldn't. And, you know, I will mention one company, Microsoft. You know, Microsoft ran out of space to re-permission virtual machines in Europe, right? In one of their nodes, and they had no capacity. They were at capacity. So they had to fail over to have tech provisioned in, say, North America or somewhere else, which caused a massive problem, certainly if in Europe, because you've got issues with data protection, there's passport of data, rulings and compliance you've got to adhere to. But, you know, people are still doing it. So we've got a real mess to mop all this up in the next 6 months, if and when things get settled down technology, from a technological point of view. Because, you know, in any pandemic, in any crisis, people do whatever they want and whatever they can to survive. And that's normally not always adhering to rules. And so I think there's a lot of rules been broken, and there's going to be a lot of interesting things coming out in the wash.
I'm glad to hear that from you, because we all seen these graphs, you know, last crisis, 2008 and 9, what caused so many companies to be born. You know, we know Uber, we know Instagram, Pinterest, you name it, right? There are favorite ones out there, and they were not existing before. But yeah, what I hear, let's say Mayor Bloomberg here in New York City, okay, he actually started the huge tech startup, farm here, right, in the city that's thriving. So I'm with my American optimism, okay?
Well, I love Bloomberg's way of great business idea and models that he had. You know, when he started pitching the product set, giving Bloomberg software away for free to universities and mature learning studies. Because when I come out and done my finance degree and I've passed, I think, great, all I want to do is use Bloomberg when I go to JP Morgan and start my first job. You know, it's great. You get people early used to your product set. So why wouldn't they adopt it when they grow up, really, and get their, their business acumen? It makes sense, and everyone's tried that kind of model, but the Bloomberg model is the only one that's really worked at that level. I'm really impressed with that.
Absolutely, and when you mentioned that, hey, rules are thrown out now, right? Major crisis, pandemic,
Yeah,
right? Any kind of disruption like this, right? That means new rules will be created, okay, whether we like it or
yeah,
not. So I do believe in technical ingenuity, in business, curiosity rather. Okay,
yeah,
because we cannot compare, of course, larger, older institutions who just have to stay afloat. Okay, that's one agenda, right? But at the same time, when cards just messed up like this, okay, of course, many others, smaller, mid-sized businesses will start thinking, what if I'll take this leap, right?
yeah.
So that's where hope is. I mean, for me, right?
Well, I think this whole, the economic turmoil that we're in now and for a while, I do think that within the technology sector, that we are going to have so much mergers and acquisitions and companies going to the wall over the next 12, 24 months, maybe. Now's a good time. In fact, it's not a great time, but now's a good time to start a company. There's a lot of opportunity, but because a lot of people, and I've seen the acquisitions grow massively over the last 18 months, and now people will be picking up companies at a snip. And I saw SoftBank's valuation of WeWork, right? They valued them. They were going to buy them at one stage for about 40 odd billion, right? That's something
Yep,
crazy, right?
yep, yep.
And now they've valued them about 4 billion. Yeah, that's, I mean, you've got to think, well, thank God they didn't buy it, right? But that whole business model is done now because WeWork is flexible working offices, and that's not really in high demand at the moment. But
This leads us to the next topic here. Absolutely. So let's dive into what will be in high demand, because people working through Zoom, people connect with their colleagues, bosses, and clients over the Zoom.
yeah,
I hear all different opinions. I hear how terrific this is and how the world is going to go online. Just that's it, period. At the same time, it takes stress. It's really, right, takes strain on people being in Zoom meetings day to day. So what's your opinion on remote work and where we're going?
well, I think people are fickle. Yeah, people change their mind frequently, and too much of one thing is a bad thing. And people are already getting bored of Zoom meetings. People are already getting tired of team meetings and GoToMeeting or whatever platform it happens to be. And people aren't comfortable with that, right? So, may come across more comfortable, but they're not. They're doing it from their house. They've got pressures with, like, my dogs at the back, they're asleep, but they've got their kids around. You cannot be as productive as you could be working physically in a team, right? I could argue this to the cows come home, because at the end of the day, there's always a distraction when you're not in a place of work, right? So the doorbell goes, I've got a delivery. Oh, you know what? I might as well. I've been waiting to get my sink fixed. I just get the plumber to come around and do that. And there's always these little bits that get in the way. Yes, you can be productive, but comparatively speaking, I wouldn't say it would be on par. And not only that, you take the whole homeschooling environment we're doing at the moment and everything. I know it's a bit of a bugbear for me, but only because I don't have any time. It's from one thing to another, and working from home, if to do it effectively, has to be managed properly. So you have some distinct objectives to give your employees, the tasks, whatever it may be, and measure against them. And it sounds like it's then getting a bit big brotherish, and I thought, well, I'm getting monitored more when I'm at home. Well, of course you will be, right? So, and that's the way it is. You wouldn't be, someone checking in on your time when you're in an office, because you'll be in the office with the other team members. But working from home, I don't think is that sustainable on par with working together in a team in an office. However, we're going to need you. I know we're going to need you. Everybody needs you after something dramatic has happened. We need you and overcompensate. So that's what we're going to do with this post-pandemic. We're going to overcompensate and go, well, do you know what? If you want to work from home, you can, you know. Or like Twitter, right? Saying that you never have to come to work ever again or in an office, you know. And I think, well, okay. So what are they going to do? What's the next generation of employee after that? You know, it's going to be difficult because some people need that interaction in teams, and not only to just to perform their job, but to actually be inspired to create new ideas, a new way of doing it. You know, you can't get the same from a team meeting online. You just you know, the dynamic isn't there. You know, as much as we can paint a lovely picture, it won't be. You know, we're sociable animals. You know, by nature, we need to interact, and interacting digitally is not exactly the same.
I'm glad you're saying that, yeah, because my question was what will be different, what is different already, okay, but also what will be the same. And you kind of answering that, hey, we're as humans, we are social creatures. We do need to bump ideas of each other, right? We do need this kind of energetic exchange once in a while. It doesn't have to be every day, you know, don't to till, but we do need this kind of exchange. So I'm glad you're mentioning that. Hopefully nature of humankind beings is not gonna be impacted terribly, because that also, right, some of the scares.
I mean, I go off a little bit of a tangent with this because we talk about a generation, right, and cultures change as generations progress. And, you know, from a younger generation point of view, and I hate the term millennials, but we'll use it, why not? And, you know, they have different attitudes, they have different wants and needs. Totally get that. But, there's a big but, they expect things to be provided without being earned. Now, I get that, you know, but it's difficult. You know, you can't. I'll give you a good example. I'll rewind it a little bit. A friend of mine, he was telling me about his daughter, and she went for a job interview, and she turned the job down. She got the job, she turned it down. She said they don't have a working from home policy. Well, they do, but you know, it's only like 1 day a week. I want to work at home, you know, at least 2 or 3 days a week. And he was talking to his daughter and said, well, you know, I mean, it's like, it's still quite a new concept. It take a while, and you can work from home, but don't think majority of your time is going to be at home, because that was always considered a perk. You know, going back a few years now, and it still does. And he said, well, and I'll tell you what the job was for afterwards, because I'm not going to build it up a bit. And he's going, no. He said, well, how did the interview go? Yeah, he did that. And I just asked them and what I would expect to have. Right? So she was basically being interviewed and saying, I want this, and I want to do that, and I want to do that. And rather than actually go for an interview where the interviewer will ask the questions, she was asking all the questions about the work environment. And that was the most important thing for her, was the working environment. And so, okay. But it turns out, anyway, her father was saying, well, this is all well and good, but, you know, the type of job that you're going for doesn't really fit, you know. And she said, well, no, I expect it. You know, I expect my salary. I expect I can do this. You know, and if that's not right, I'll wait for the right job. You know, and you think, well, if that's the attitude of younger generations coming through, you know, it's not a buyer's market out there to buy employees. It's the other way round. You need to cut your teeth and to you know, cut the attitude out, really, and get that job first, and then work your way up. you know, and
Very
the
interesting. You know, so many kids will agree with you and many kids will really argue that point, you know, because if that's the way I feel, you know, this magic expression, then that's how they're gonna live their life. So again, we are not here to judge, we're here to help, right?
yeah,
Those who, yeah, absolutely, because if person, yeah, confident that there is other opportunity out there, you know, this is what this is about, trying when you're
but
young,
but
right?
but the job
Yeah, I
was a
know.
dental hygiene assistant.
I know what you mean. We used to be a little more agreeable. I know, but
But the job that she was being offered
yeah,
was to be in a dentist
okay.
as a dental hygiene assistant, where you have to work with people. You can't work from home with that.
Yeah,
I mean, the
there is
job.
a little mismatch here. I hear what you mean. Your skills and the expectations, exactly. It's not your high-tech kind of office environment. This is you kind of need to be near people's teeth if you work
Yes,
for them. I don't know.
unless they get them sent to you.
By the way, this is 20th century talk here, okay? That you have to be
Yeah,
near your patient. Things change too, you know. So
yeah.
next thing we know, you
3D printed teeth.
exactly. So teeth industry is gonna see major changes at some point,
Yeah,
but I still want to have people around me, okay, when I open up my
yeah,
mouth for now. So no, I
yeah.
see, absolutely. So Neil, this is fantastic. Okay, so we talked about trends, we talked about not so bright future, but then thanks goodness you kind of showed us that yes, there are points to grow, and we want the economy, of course, to recover ideally in V shape, but let's be realistic, okay? If that's not happening, we're okay. We're here for a long term.
Yeah.
So that's,
I think personally it will be a W shape. It will go up and go
I
up.
see,
You know, it's
I
not going to be a V or a U. I think it'd be more like a W. Um,
see. But
but
it's gonna be interesting times. How about that, okay? No matter the shape or the letter, we're gonna see, but it's gonna be interesting. So Neil, few takes away, you know, from you, because I want new entrepreneurs, I want inspired
mm,
people, I want mid-career people to hear from you. Hey, what it is that we need to be thinking about.
technology, where it's going to
Technology.
boom, esports, massive industry. It's going to get absolutely phenomenally large, and it has its own currency already, and it's there. It's ready to go, and it's just about to get a lot bigger. You know, and that's one trend I see massively on the increase. And you know, what with everyone being at home playing them too, as well as the currency is all blockchain enabled at the back end, you know, so each game can have their own currency now. You know, it fascinates me really, and that whole infrastructure. But speed is king. You've got to have the right infrastructure to do it. You know, not many people can get that right. Um, Going forward post pandemic, I think slow start, buckle down the hatches a little bit, but don't lose sight of emerging technology, because nobody wants that Kodak moment, you know, that, you know, they go, oh, you know, when you're a leader in one thing and then the next thing you know, you're going bust, uh, because you got greedy, right? And you don't look at emerging technology. That is the future one way or another. And whether you like it or not, cloud tech is here to stay and going to be bigger and better than any other technology, and it makes perfect sense to do so. But the leading technology that's coming out from blockchain environments, absolutely. 5G tech connectivity is going to boom the industry like you would never seen. If you can find any masks that have been burnt, and you know, with these conspiracy theories that are all about at the moment, you know, it's gonna boom the economy, but it's going to generate a lot of data. It's going to generate a lot of traffic. So supporting businesses underneath that are going to do really well. Um, any other good words of wisdom? Don't give up. You know, you know. If you fail your startup, fail is an ugly word. It just didn't work, but you learn from it, right? So just pick yourself up and try again. It's a multitude of reasons why your company might have failed to start, but you know, there's only one real reason, and you probably know that already. So, you know, so at the end of the day, don't give up. Don't just keep plodding along, because there's nothing worse than trying to recycle yourself after being a failed startup. It's difficult, right? And I would give the maximum amount of optimism for anyone who's starting their business. Don't worry about it. You'll push through, and it will get better.
Thank you, Neil, so very much. So come back to SaugaTalks to discuss a bunch of other tech and business and humanity topics. Okay, door is always open, because
Yeah.
it's so much fun talking to you, Neil. Thank you very much.
No, pleasure. Thank you.